Illinois got a big bounce back win, taking down USC 34-32. They got throttled by Indiana their last go around, and you can tell that they had a chip on their shoulder for this game, and they controlled USC up until the final minutes of the fourth quarter when USC came back. Jaden Maiava hit Jacoby Lane to end up taking a 1-point lead late, and then Illinois ends up clutching up, hitting the game-winning field goal, and they shake back. USC gets their first loss of the season in similar fashion that we've been accustomed to seeing USC lose games under Lincoln Riley. How many times have we had this discussion about USC being unable to finish? If there were awards given to teams that dominated games up until the final 5 minutes, USC would be one of the recipients of it. They played great football up until it's time to finally play good enough football to walk away with the win in big games. And yeah, USC has some injuries going into this game against Illinois, but injuries didn't keep you from losing this game. What hurt you from losing this game is that your offense was getting dominated up front by Illinois' defensive line. Your run game was pretty good at times, but not as good as what it needed to be in order to beat a team like Illinois. USC is still trying to win in the Big Ten the same way they were winning in the Pac-12. Finesse football. We're going to beat you on the edge. We're going to beat you on the perimeter. And they can't beat you on the line of scrimmage. And until USC gets more depth on the trenches and they get a lot better on the offensive line and on the defensive line, they're going to keep having these games when they lose to teams like Illinois that don't really do too many things offensively. They keep it basic. They're just going to run power the majority of the time. And if they throw it, they're looking for number 80. And there's nothing really going for anything explosive. You know, Illinois' offense is methodical. They just do enough to drive down the field and score points. They're not trying to get a bunch of big plays. They'll call a few trick plays here and there, but you can tell that Illinois knows who they are as a football team, and they're comfortable with their identity. USC, what is their identity this year? What is this team? What is something that USC can hang their hat on when things get rough late in the game that can be a crutch for them? For Illinois, it was the run game. It was the pass rush. It was the defensive line. For USC, what was it? I thought Jaden Maiava looked really good. To me, if the NFL draft was to start today, if he was to declare, he'll be the first overall pick if I was a GM and I need a quarterback. Great arm, great athlete, and plays very well in structure. Now, he did have an interception in the second half of this game that was a little costly, but overall, he played good enough for USC to win this game. And I feel he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country at the moment and definitely in the conversation for the Heisman Trophy. USC, in spite of how great Jaden Maiava will be this season and how good he played in this game, the physicality of Illinois was just too much for them. USC is still struggling with the Big Ten's physicality. They always say styles make fights. And Illinois' style play gave USC problems. They just weren't able to bang in the trenches with Illinois. And the body clock theory, how West Coast teams have early kickoffs around 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, I believe there is a lot of truth to that. When I was talking to one of my friends that was asking me who I was picking to win this game, I was telling him that I don't like USC in this road spot because of the early kickoff time. And with conference realignment, this was a huge concern that most people had about USC and Oregon and Washington and UCLA coming into this conference, the amount of miles they were going to have to travel, the weird kickoff times they were going to have to deal with, that they normally were accustomed to. What's ironic is Lincoln Riley was complaining about this throughout the week when USC was in a conference that was regional, where the travel benefited USC and it wasn't a disadvantage. It was the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 wasn't good enough for them. They needed more money, so they chased the bag. And unfortunately, when you chase the bag, sometimes not everything good comes with going after the money. And USC followed the money, and they got a disadvantage of now sometimes they may have these body clock games. I am not going to fade USC this season. I'm not going to change my outlook of this team because of this loss. I had USC going 9-3 before this season started, and I still believe that's what this team is going to be. They do have the ceiling to be 10-2, but I still believe they're going to have a few more games that they lose like this when they kind of struggle to keep up with the physicality of certain Big Ten teams, because Illinois doesn't embody the Big Ten better than what they do. Bret Bielema is a Big Ten OG. He had success in this conference when he was coaching up Russell Wilson, and he led Wisconsin and him to a Rose Bowl. So Lincoln Riley is still learning. USC is still learning how to adapt to the physicality of this conference. I believe eventually things will click for USC. It still is one loss. There's a lot of football to be played, but this definitely isn't a team that I look at right now and say, yeah, they can be a sneaky playoff team. I still think that USC is a year away from being an actual playoff contender.